Hey guys, welcome to Fast Congressional Skills. For districts, one of the first things I'm going to start with is teaching you how to memorize the precedence chart as a presiding officer, because that makes you a much more effective and a much faster presiding officer, and that's the best way to get ranked high, not just at the district tournament, but like from now on, like at more important tournaments. So the basic understanding, well, first of all, in the basics, the NFL ruled that you cannot select people based on activity or longest standing or anything like that. So now people go, like geography or whatever, but that doesn't matter. Like the really like it's really up to the presiding officer these days. And in order to appear fair, the best way I've found is to be as fast as possible, where people don't have the time to really think, oh, like why did he pick me or the other? Like you should not spend a lot of time picking people. You should just know which person goes. So let's pretend you have a room full of kids, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry guys, I'm working on Illustrator. Kind of sucks. 9, 10, 11, and 12. First things first. Before the precedence chart is set, go with the first person you see every time. There is absolutely no reason as to why you should be waiting any time if multiple people stand up to look at them and decide which one to go. Like that just inherently looks unfair. Go with the first person you see. Like that's the best kind of like presiding officer experience. Like, and that's also the best position to be in the case of a presiding officer. If the precedent is not being set yet, just go. Like you don't even have to have a precedence chart. Just go with the first person you see, right? But the one thing you do want to keep track of, right, both on a separate precedence chart, in this case I'll show you how to keep a precedence, like a separate precedence chart, right, and you want to keep it on a precedence chart, you want to keep it like visually, because what I'm teaching you is how to memorize the precedence chart so that you visually, that way you can like quickly move through speakers. So let's pretend we have 1, 6, and 7 stand up. Who do you pick? 1. Let's just go for 1. So you go to the other document. Okay. Let's do it this way. So the way you mark up your precedence chart is like you write a 0, you write a 1, you write a 2, write a 3. Hopefully you won't get that many speeches in. And yeah, like you want to keep track of like 1, 2, 3, so you write everyone. That's important. Don't just mark the people that have spoken. Mark the people also that have not spoken. So like you mark everybody, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up until 12. So if number 1 is spoken, you cross 1 out and you report it on this chart. Most people know that. Like that's really like a new way of presiding. But like if you don't, that's just the way you want to keep track of it. That way you know 1 is like spoken, given 1 speech. But going back to like visually memorizing it, you want to start marking up in your mind these people. So 1 is spoken. So now imagine if everyone were to stand up for like the next speech, you can pick anybody but 1, right? So at the back of your mind, you want to say you look at 1, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna call on that person. So let's pretend very quickly, you go to 6 and 7. That's just basically the way, let's pretend like that's the way it's going to work, right? So you mark it, 6, 7. And here we get to the principle behind memorizing the precedence chart. You want to make triangles and parabolas to memorize. So what you're doing is memorizing the position of the precedence chart, like the order of the speakers based on position. Do not worry about the names. That's the reason why I'm using numbers. I could be using letters. But regardless, like the whole point is that you memorize the position of where these people are sitting. That way, if somebody's standing, you know where to look, and you just know. And hopefully, they're going to stand up with their placard. So you're just looking at the right sitting place, the right seat, and automatically able to pick this best speaker too. So if you had like 1, 6, and 7, you mark it this mentally, because most of the time, like you're spending as a presiding officer, you're not really doing anything, right? Like all you're doing up until like the 2-minute mark, where you have to like tell people that you have 1 minute left of speaking. The first 2 minutes, you're not really doing anything. So what you want to do is look at the room and go through this process. Mentally go through 1, 6, and 7. Go through this. Imagine people are sitting, like, go through this. Because this is the best people, because these are going to be the first people, the highest precedence, right? That way, assuming everybody has spoken, if everybody were to stand, you automatically know, you ignore everyone. Like, you just go mentally, is 1 standing up? No. Is 6 standing up? No. Is 7 standing up? Yes. Everybody else you just ignore. You see how much easier it gets because all you're like having to look is for sitting positions as opposed to like names and stuff. It's much easier to do it this way. So you keep track of the precedence chart this way, right? So then we get to like another set, and it's like 3, 10, 3, 9, and 10, right? So you mark 3, you mark 9, you mark 10. Always never memorize more than like sets of 3s, right? Because you want to keep it pretty small. So mentally, as you're waiting for people to speak, you go 1, 6, 7. Like, well, you don't even say 1, 6, 7. You just go bam, 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 bam. Like you go this way, right? That way, if just these two speak, you know where to go. 1. And so let's finish up the markup that way. So it's what if it's 2 and 8? So this is a good example of like I guess what I call a parabola. Where like you can't really make an effective triangle. Try to make this as simple as possible, right? So you make a parabola. Bam. And then let's mark up the 4, 5, and 11. Well, actually, no, let's do this. Let's make it easier. 4, 12, and 11. Bam. So now everybody is given a speech. So you were able to pick people super quickly because you knew you didn't have to worry about precedence because there's nothing, you can just pick anybody and there's nothing wrong with it, right? Now let's pretend everyone speaks. Normally, presiding officer, like if everyone spoke, everybody like kind of struggles because what they have to do is they have to go back to this sheet and go 1, 6, 7. No, screw that, right? Because it gets complicated. What if it's just like 2, 6, and 11, right? That's what you want to go mentally. You have to practice this every speech. Like every speech, though, for the first 2 minutes when you don't have to do anything, go over this. So 1, 6, 7, 3, 9, 10, 2, 8, 4, 12, 11. Like go through that. Normally, I would even say you don't even have to go through 4 triangles. So like in the parabola, just go through like 3 because I doubt. Because even the more people that stand up, like if these like. The only time in which this would matter for like the second speech is if none of these people stand up. So really, like the chance is pretty low. So you want to go through like the first 3. So memorize this, memorize that, and memorize this. That way ignore the entire room except for this section. And when everybody stands, look, is 1 standing, is 6 standing, is 7 standing, is 3. I know it seems like you're doing more work, but honestly, based on position, like you're actually able to do it much more effectively because here we're assuming a lot of people are standing. What if it was just like 3 and 8? You would just know it's 3. And if you practice it, you're able to like figure out. You're able to tell very, very, very quickly. So this is basic. This is for the second speech. So, if like 6, 3, and 11 stand, 6 is gonna go. But now you have to alter things because things have changed. So, like, mental. Where's the eraser? Whatever, I'm just going to use the color white to solve this issue. Color library, white. Seriously, like, there's no. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So if six stands, like, like he's gonna have the second speech. So you have to alter your triangle, right? Where in this case, okay. So what happens is it becomes like a straight through this, right? And you just alter it basically. And maybe you could say, oh, maybe like I'm gonna turn this into a triangle, right? So you're gonna change the 2, and the 8 will be part of the 8, 4, 12. So you solve the issue this way. And obviously you have to rearrange it. It seems a little complicated at first, but honestly, like, you have 2 minutes for every speech. That you have more than 66.6% of the time you're spending, you don't really do that. You're doing this kind of thing. So it actually makes it pretty easy. For questioning, you can do the same thing. You can keep track of questioning the same way, especially if you're in a final round, like at Emory, for example, where you have to keep track, where it's direct cross-examination. So you want to keep track of precedence. In recency would be cool too. It's just like what I would do for questions, as opposed to remembering the order, just remember who has like a certain amount of questions, right? So make triangles and parabolas based on who has like 2 questions, 3 questions, and stuff. And remember, always keep rearranging it and go through it, because this has changed now. So it's like when a 6 is speaking, think about it like 1, 7, 2, 3, 9, 10. And remember, it's not about the numbers; it's about the position. It's about the position of the people. This way, you're able to effectively call on anybody, even if everyone stands, without ever having to look down and check your precedence chart. Why? Because you have memorized the position of the people with the top recency, and you just go by exclusion. Is this person standing? Is this person standing? Is this person standing? Is this person standing? And he makes it super, super easy.